Welcome back to another episode of Efficio's Transforming Public Procurement Microcast series, where we continue to help you better understand key elements of the new Procurement Act regulations. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Jack Neary, a consultant within our public sector practice, to talk about estimating the value of contracts. Welcome, Jack. Hopefully this won't get too confusing for our viewers. So tell us firstly, why is it important to estimate value of contracts correctly?
Hi, Jack. Great to be in the series. So yeah, the rules on the valuation of contracts in relation to the new Act are important, particularly in relation to determining whether contracts are above or below threshold, and therefore the consequent applicable rules that are governing that procurement.
Okay, understood. So what about the methodology then?
Sure. So estimated contract values must be the maximum amount you might be expected to pay for any goods, services, or works to be provided through the contract, taking account of any potential factors that might affect the total amount payable. Where applicable, any amounts already paid.
Thanks. So what are some examples of what might contribute to the total cost of a contract then?
Yeah, so the amount a contracting authority could be expected to pay may include the following. One, the value of any goods, services, or works provided by the authority under the contract other than for payment. Two, amounts that would be payable if an option in the contract to supply additional goods, services, or works were exercised. Three, amounts that would be payable if an option in the contract to extend or renew the term of the contract were exercised. Four, amounts representing premiums, fees, commissions, or interest that could be payable. And finally, any amounts that are representing prizes or payments that could be payable to any participants in the procurement itself.
Okay, that's clear. So what about estimating the value of a framework then?
Sure. So when calculating the total contract values for a framework, the total value must comprise the sum of the estimated values of all the contracts that may be awarded in accordance with that framework. Now, in the case of an open framework, the total value of the open framework is to be treated as including the value of all the series of frameworks awarded under that open framework.
And could you bring that to life a little bit with an example?
Sure. Let's take a simple example. So say your framework contract is for 3 years with a possible 1-year extension with an estimated value of the call-offs of 100k, excluding VAT, per year. Therefore, you've got 4 years as your maximum total. Times that by 100k, you get a 400k estimated contract value. Now, if you add your 20% VAT on top of that, you've got 400k as an estimated contract value, 80k VAT, so the total estimated value will be 480k.
Great. And what about in circumstances then when it's not possible to estimate the value of the contract?
Yeah, great question. If you are genuinely unable to estimate the value of your contract, say, for example, you don't know the duration of the contract, then that contract is to be treated as having an estimated value above the threshold amount for its specific type of contract. But you should also use sufficient market research wherever possible to try and guide your estimations and validate all assumptions.
Thanks, Jack. That was a really great overview into estimating contract values and the methodologies under the new Act. I hope you all enjoyed today's Microcast. As always, please do post any thoughts or questions in the chat and get in touch with Jack or myself for future topics you also want to hear about. We'll be sharing more content with you with a new host in the near future.